Hi friends, hello the world. Welcome back to this episode of Tools for Transitioning Humanitarians. And today I'm talking about the topic that I've been coaching several of my clients. And the topic is introvert leaders. And I have been talking about, I have been thinking about a lot and coaching on this a lot. And here are the situations that my clients present to me very often who are introverts. They tell me that they are, even though in very high positions, some of them are not, but going there, but they are perception of themselves is that they don't think that they will be as successful as their extrovert colleagues. They will not be heard by others as much as extrovert colleagues. They are not really assertive. They don't really feel like they can say things in assertive ways because they don't really want to say things that they're not sure about, but at the same time, other colleagues or other people feel their hesitation and maybe they are just like insecure and they're not really good at communicating like others, right? So I can see that introvert colleagues or who consider themselves introvert, they have a lot of stories about themselves. They have their self-concept of someone who is not as good as or as successful as the extrovert colleagues. And if this is you, then here's how I would like to structure this episode is I would like first to talk about what this type of self-concept influence us, impact us, and what are the consequences of it, and what to do to shift that self concept if you feel like that's really getting in the way, right? So when we do, when we have this type of self concept, and by self concept, I mean how we see ourselves basically, right? As long as we keep seeing ourselves as I'm not good as extrovert, I'm not good at this as this, then we will always keep finding evidence for it. We will always keep finding things to keep working on it. We will always keep finding reasons why we can't really do XYZ. And the consequences of those type of holding ourselves back, standing in our own way, not really being fully out there and authentically out there, owning our introvertness. If we don't do that, then the outcome of it is that we will always be the ones who is stopping ourselves from going for what we want. We will always be the ones who are um, not letting ourselves be authentic, owning our introvertness. We will always be the one who will always live in this comparison. And I think that's not really a great place to be, where we constantly compare ourselves to others, when we constantly feel like we're not as others, and therefore we just keep hiding. We just keep feeling like we're not really comfortable going out there and bringing our voice, saying the things the way that we really believe. Um, um, Arguing for our cases, advocating things, we're not going to do as much of it, or we feel like let's just constrain ourselves, or let's just restrict ourselves. Let's just hold ourselves back a little. And then by keep doing this little by little, we just get so much into the identity of, again, we prove ourselves right by saying, well, because I'm an introvert, therefore I can't do XYZ as good as the extrovert, for instance, right? So we need to stop doing this and keep feeling in the identity of we're introvert, therefore XYZ. We need to drop that identity basically. And the the other thing that I notice about the consequences of it, not only that we keep stopping ourselves from going for what we want and being authentic about who we are and what we're capable of, we also continue being in this as an outcome of this behavior, right? We continue not appreciating, not recognizing all the achievements, and also not really like explore what are the other possibilities of us becoming the leader in the workplace, in life. as an introvert. We don't really explore our version of how that leadership looks like, our version of how that management looks like, management style looks like, because we just keep feeling like they're always amazing, those extrovert leaders or extrovert managers, and we can never be as good as them, kind of the trajectory that we always put ourselves, the identity that we always put ourselves. Therefore, we don't really then explore, wait a minute, how do I actually want to be a leader as an introvert? How do I want to get my message across as an introvert? How do I want to lead teams, lead processes, lead systemic changes, reforms as an extrovert? And what is my way of doing it, right? What is my style of doing it? And we don't really get to explore those things because we are again in this comparison of I'm not good as the other and whatever. Now, I really want to give you several of the examples of my amazing managers, leaders, in the humanitarian organization that I used to work for, that were introverts, and how I admired them and why I admired them, so that you have an idea of what are my visions of how I have seen introvert leaders rock in the workspace, right? So the way that they used to behave is that they always knew what they knew and what they didn't. And they never really tried to show off and say all the things of what they knew or whatever. But when they spoke, when they said things of what they knew and why we should do it this way and why we should have this strategy, when they spoke, everyone would listen to them because they would always have this weight around how to say things, say only the things to the point without any like additional noise. And they would say things with such great arguments as to why we should be doing this without being emotional, without being dramatic, without being like excessive, but so being focused and to the point and with such a weight that we would all be like, yes, that's how it should go. That's how we should do, right? So these are the leaders that I have came across in my career where I actually wanted to be like them because of how much focus they brought, how much noise that they removed, how much of them to the point conversation that afterwards you just feel like, oh, thank God someone is really doing their job kind of feeling, right? So that's one amazing example of an introvert leader manager that I had. The other one I had was the part that I love about her is that, and both of them are women, by the way. Uh, and not to say that introvert leaders are or managers are only women, right? But I'm just saying these are my examples. And the other one that I really appreciated and loved is because the way that she facilitated group discussions to learn our lessons and own our lessons was profound. And the way that she would prepare everything in the like for the group discussion goes so smoothly, so well, and do it in the way where we don't really indulge in the personal egos of people or like blaming scenarios, but rather really looking at what are we learning, what have we learned, how can we now implement it, and that like facilitating that type of discussion, excuse me, communicating so clearly and knowing why they're doing this, explaining to us why they're doing this was so impactful. And I'm sure you also have your own examples of introvert leaders, managers that you really admire, that you're like, yes, I want to be like that person. Right. So therefore, if we want to be the best at being the introvert, the owning our introvertness, then here is what we need to do. One is understanding how our current identity of, oh, I'm an introvert, therefore XYZ I can't do, understanding how that's impacting us. And then like what feelings it's generating, what problems it's creating, how much of our brain's energy is going for that, understanding that, and then making a firm decision as a second to say, this is not how I want to keep entertaining how I am an introvert, therefore I can't do XYZ thing. I'm no longer entertaining that. Like putting a boundary with yourself if you need it, and to say, this is not how I want to just keep continuing my story, but rather I want to focus, and the third, focus on building and owning my version of introvert who does these things in the workplace, in life, in this way. My version of introvert personality interacts with people in this way. My version of introvert leader leads processes, changes, teams in this way. This is how I want to do this. These are the strengths that I want to highlight and reinforce rather than keep looking at how I can do XYZ and keep hiding or keep fearing or keep worrying about what others are thinking and all of this, because those are just not a good use of our time and energy, right? So therefore, we can at least focus on these three things. Is one, how is our identity that we have built so far that says, I'm an introvert, therefore I can't do XYZ or I can't be XYZ, how that is holding ourselves back, how that's affecting us, how that keeps us reacting to things and feeling like inferior in some ways, or feeling like we're not as good as others or whatever. But when we notice how much this identity of ours is impacting us, then the making the firm decision of, that's not how I want to be. If that's not how you want to be, I want to be, like my clients tell me often, is that I want to be authentic, owning my introvertness, knowing what I know, knowing my position. Where I don't have a position, also owning that, and knowing that I know how to communicate. And if I don't know, I can always learn, instead of making it mean that this means I can't do XYZ, right? So that's the next, is deciding that you no longer keep entertaining that identity. Instead, third, focusing on what identity you want your introvert to stand for, right? How do you want your introvertness to be in the world? And we have an amazing chance for all of us to express and be in the world in our own version, in our own unique ways. And therefore, what is your unique way of being an introvert who leads teams? What is your version of being an introvert who is a great manager? What do they do? How do they handle the situation? How do they speak to other people? How do they socialize? How do they take care of themselves? How do they take care of other people that are close to them, or that their loved ones? How do they create successes in life? How do they communicate, right? So exploring all of this and then embodying and going doing it, that's, I think, the best time and energy we can spend on. And I would highly recommend for you to spend most of your time there, rather than the time of keep entertaining that identity that is no longer useful. So if you would like to work on this, absolutely come coach with me. I would love to help you to become amazing introvert leader, introvert manager who owns being that person that you really want to be, and show up that powerfully at workplace and in life. So message me or email me. I would love to coach you on this topic. Have a beautiful week, everyone, and I'll talk to you very soon.